Hello, if you can't charge at home, you live in a terrace house or a flat, what are your options and what are some of the myths the fossil fuel industry hope you will swallow? I'm Nigel, thanks very much for joining me today. I hope you can subscribe, it very much helps the channel, and a like is very much appreciated if you did, and if you want to leave a comment, please leave one down below, especially if you're thinking of buying an EV or you've recently bought one, you got one, and your experiences are very much appreciated. There are so many myths to do with EVs that is misleading the public into not buying an EV. As you can see, I'm in Spain. The app to see where the car is back in the UK. Every time I've done that, it tells me that the miles left in the car is exactly the same as when I left it 2 weeks ago. However, if I went onto the dash cam and want to look at dash cam footage of every Tom, Dick or Harry who went by the car, the range would deplete. When you're at home, I think where the confusion comes is when you're at home, if you go to the boot a few times, open it up, maybe switch on the radio, play a few games, possibly, the kids might.
What are you using?
I've got a ball and chain on me.
Why did you use that? Joe's in last place. I'm awful. Goldie, do you want to come to the back with me?
No, not yet. Not while I'm.
Jen, look!
Jen?
No! Knock. You want to come out?
Oh, Jen.
No, you don't want to come out, okay? I'm going in the driver's seat.
I'm going to slow down a bit, actually. I feel bad for you lot.
You have to use it straight away.
It can go down a minuscule amount, but it's minor. So naturally there are those people who hate EVs for whatever reasons, probably because of their job depends on EVs not being successful, that make the assumption that if it can go down a mile on a day, then if you're away for a month, it could go down 30 miles and you could have no fuel left. Well, and the reason I've been checking what's left is I don't, when I get back, I want to head off straight away, and I don't want to go to a supercharger, so I've got a lot of range. I'll probably head up to Perth and then up to Inverness, heading home. So it's a nonsense to say that EV will lose a mile a day of range. It's just not true. It's just another myth that's been busted. I've driven an EV for over 4 years, and I've driven petrol and diesel for 50 years before. If you go away for a long time, you'll get back and there will be no range left. Exactly the same preposterous accusations were made that for EVs in the snow, and it turned out they were so much better in the snow than any petrol or diesel car. A few facts for you. 25% of new car sales in November in UK were EVs. Petrol cars currently pay 6p a mile to the government in fuel tax. If you charge at home, you can be getting your fuel for around 2p a mile, and the government take 3 times more on fuel tax for the petrol cars. Government receives 24 billion in petrol and diesel sales. EV sales are up in every country in the world except the USA. 18.5 million EVs were sold throughout the world in 2025. 23% of car sales in the UK in 2025 were EVs, and I know there were a lot of people ready to start writing something to me saying it's all a lie. What happens is, they would say, is some dealers pre-registered cars. Now this has always been a thing, there's nothing new. At the end of the month, I'll try and find the clip if I can, because it was on McMaster from a dealer. What happens is, if you're a dealer at the end of the month, if he's getting close to a particular target where he gets a bonus, and there are different thresholds that they can get bonuses, and if he's getting close, he might pre-register a few cars. So if you pre-register a car, you can't register again. So if in November you register, perhaps you think, oh, one more car, give me that extra bonus and you register it, you can't register it the following month. You then have to dispose of that car and sell it. You might put a discount on it, whatever. I don't know. Tesla don't do that. There is no pre-registering. But this is something that's really always happened. But of course, the fossil fuel industry are trying to persuade you that this is all new, this has never happened.
EV sales have slumped, EV sales have increased, EV sales have and then you'll get, oh yeah, but it's the registered ones that have increased. The motor dealers have pre-registered them to make it look like they've sold them. Have they increased? Is it decreasing? What is going on?
Well, there's no question. So the believable figures are the SMMT, who are the UK body, and you can only see registrations. And there is an increase in hybrid registrations and BEVs, no question. Are they being pre-regged? Possibly. Is pre-reg to gain numbers something that's new? No. Categorically not.
They used to do that with normal cars.
Well, can you remember some of the adverts that you and I wrote together all
Yeah.
those years ago? And, you know, like they were pre-reg. And why do manufacturers pre-reg? Because in the past, dealerships were given a bonus for hitting a target. So if you were 20 cars off your target, that gave you a very nice little bonus back to the business, it made sense to pre-reg 20 cars in your own name, in the business name, whatever that might be, you know, John Ford Motors, whatever, and then sell them off for as much as you could get. And as long as you got more than what your bonus, as long as you got more than what you'd paid for it, you know, so you were into some profit, or even, and I know I ran some campaigns where we sold cars at cost. And people said, no, you're not doing it. Well, there you
Why
go.
would you sell cars at cost?
Because the bonus, the retrospective bonus, was so great. So it was worth multi thousands. So is pre-reg new? No. Are manufacturers pre-regging cars to hit targets? Possibly. What's the benefit of that? You know, it gives the anti-brigade something to talk about for a start. But more importantly, those cars that are then sold become really, really nice buys for somebody that wants a cost-effective car.
Right.
Notwithstanding that there are some major bargains on used vehicles.
There is.
Because, you know, your car was an ex-lease car, so you didn't lose all that money on it, did you? The lease company did. So they end up within the dealer networks, or even through car auctions, BCA being the biggest, and then they end up on forecourts, and they're a great buy.
One person that leaves a comment that no one actually buys an electric vehicle. Well, I did, and I know lots of people who have, and there's lots of comments where people have bought electric vehicles. They say it's all the fleet cars and for the reps and leasing cars. Well, it's always been the majority. That's always been that way. So there's nothing new. But what they're doing now is bringing out this new fact as if pretending that it's new. Well, there's nothing new about it. This is what the motor industry has always done, and most people don't buy a new car. I've had 20 cars, and the only car I've ever bought new was the Tesla 4 years ago. The ducks were all in a row, and I couldn't have done it 5 years earlier, and I probably couldn't do it now. Wouldn't want to do it now because I can pick up a really good Tesla for 10 grand. And of course, a new Tesla is much cheaper than it's ever been. You can get them now from £37,995, cheaper than when I bought mine. If you are thinking, please use my link down below, or I might put it up there, or it might be over my face. And if you use the link, you'll get some free supercharging miles, and so will I. But there are so many myths about EVs, and it's probably the only reason that I blog on YouTube, because I keep seeing these lies. Otherwise I wouldn't bother. I'd just get on with my life. Although sometimes I think it's interesting, because with a normal car, when you get into it, off you go and drive. But there's a lot of complexities with the EV, it's a bit like your smartphone and a basic old phone, isn't it? The things you can do on this, how often do you phone anybody? Maybe occasionally. With an old phone, that's all you could do, and that's really the difference. So if you are thinking of buying an electric vehicle, then I hope you will. Back to the original issue of what do you do if you can't charge at home? You live in a terrace house. But before that, if you live in a block of flats, I did for 2 years, and I was able to charge at home. I sorted it out. I got it sorted so I could do it. You can talk to your employer about installing charging at work and tell him, her, grants are available, and the same with the landlord if you live in a flat, block of flats. There are grants available, and it will make the block of flats more valuable. In the last video I wanted to show you about the systems that go across the pavement or cut into the pavement, but I had a copyright claim, so I've now checked them again elsewhere to make sure there's no copyright so that I can show you. Now the first system is cut into the pavement. A lot of councils are pushing this, not all, and I'll let the lady explain because she can do it a lot better than me.
We have a solution to one of the biggest problems with the transition to EVs. How people who live in terraced houses without off-street parking can charge a car safely and securely from home. And that solution is this, PaveCross. PaveCross allows the safe and secure passage of an EV charging cable across the pavement, connecting a smart home charger to your car parked at the curbside. It's a simple, flush-fitting, permanent installation buried just 75mm into the pavement surface. The patented mechanism is only opened when the charging cable is either introduced or retrieved. At all other times it's closed, posing no trip hazard whatsoever. Not only does this benefit the homeowner in terrace streets in terms of bringing cheaper and more convenient EV charging, but with the use of third-party apps and smart home chargers, it can also be a real benefit to the whole community, allowing neighbours and other users in the area to also benefit from the charger. And on top of that, it's tidy, it's low maintenance, it's easy to install, there's no trip hazards. This really can revolutionise EV charging for a whole new audience.
That was pretty good. I think that explains it. Another gentleman I found on YouTube, and he's purchased the system that lays on top of the pavement.
I think the best thing is if you can charge at home, and I've got a charger installed here, and we can run the cable across the pavement quite safely with a cover over it. It is saving us a lot of money in petrol. We're charging overnight. We've got off-peak electricity, so it doesn't cost an awful lot to charge it. I don't think there's any drawbacks at all. I've had no problems with the vehicle. There's hardly anything to go wrong, much less moving parts than a combustion engine. So yeah, go for it, honestly. I mean, and I think in the future we're going to find ways, practical ways around not having driveways. I've found a way here, but there are other things that could be done. We can't all rely on public chargers. We all need to have access to our own charger, or we could share. I mean, I've said to my neighbour here or anyone else on the street, if they want to use this, we can share it. You know, they give me a tenner or whatever.
And this seems a great system because you're not affecting the pavement. And if you were taking advantage of the cheap nighttime electricity and put it out before you went to bed and then get up early and remove it, no one's ever going to know that it's there. And it really isn't a trip hazard, so I don't see what the problem is, especially in those councils that are living in the Ice Age that don't want anything to do with new technology if it's not a trip hazard. So I think this is a brilliant system, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to do that, or getting in a professional electrician to do it for them. The other thing that always amuses me about when people say, well, only 40% of people can't charge at home. Well, that's a whopping 60% who can. And currently, although there's 23% of cars last year were electric vehicles in the UK, apparently only 5% in total are EVs, which means that a whopping 55% of people have a driveway where they can charge their vehicle. and the other 40%, there are lots of solutions. Now, you might be one of those people that can't be bothered with solutions. You just want to go down to the garage and pay a huge amount of money and get a smelly hand with diesel or petrol, and think that's quite wonderful. And to hell with the fumes coming out of the car and the harm it does to so many people. Well, that's up to you. And I'm sure there's a lot of people, judging from my comments, that don't even believe in climate change. Well, I think the future generations will have something to say about that. And I wonder if those people making these comments, because it's not just about price. We won the argument on price. Selling, running an EV is so much cheaper charging at home. No one's even debating that. But the fossil fuel industry will keep coming up with things like EVs set on fire, myth busted. The insurance is high, myth busted. It is, of course, a performance car, even the basic Tesla that I'm talking about. Not so if you're buying others, you know, Citroen, Renaults, whatever. There is no reason why the cost of insurance should be any more. I've showed it in previous video. I'll quickly show it again if you like, very quickly. The Tesla supercharger network is so good. Wherever you want to go, you tell it where you're going. People say you've got to plan a route. No, you haven't. You tell it where you're going. It's like a sat nav. You tell it where you're going. I want to go there. It will tell you if you need to stop to charge, or if you don't, what your charge level will be when you get there. And if it's a long road trip, it will show you where all the superchargers are. It will tell you who's actually charging it as you get nearer. It will precondition so when you get there, it won't take very long to charge. Never had range anxiety, but I've had go to the loo anxiety, and I wanted to stop long before the car said it was due for fuel. Regularly happens now, and it did it much the same when I was a younger man. I was a rep driving hundreds of miles a day, and you had to stretch your legs. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you can subscribe and like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. If you're thinking of buying a Tesla, please use my link. You'll get an extra amount of supercharging, and you can use it in any country, and it's good for you and it's good for me. Hope you can drive safely wherever you go, and I haven't said this for a while. Hope you can take your reusable coffee cup, teacup, wherever you go. It saves having to use single-use plastic, and if 8 billion people on the planet tomorrow all used a single-use coffee cup, there would be an awful lot of them in the landfill. Well, there is anyway, because they're not recycled. It has a very thin layer of plastic in it, and it just goes to the landfill. I lived in a town in Cornwall where we had a campaign because there were so many of these plastic paper cups. You think paper, oh, it can be recycled, but it can't. And we had a campaign in Bude, and even now you can go into shops and top up your water bottle, or there's even water fountains. I don't drive a Tesla because it's saving the planet. It's not. It's a bit better. It's one small thing that's a bit better, and the CO2 emissions makes it a bit better. It's a bit like when they took lead out of the petrol. It was a little bit better, and there are things that we can do. So again, thanks for joining me, and drive safely, take care, and I'll see you next time, and leave those comments down below. Bye.